Hi, this is Carrie, and welcome to Tandem Talks, a podcast meant to empower you to live your life your way.
And I'm Craig. Join us as we go deeper with entrepreneurs and their journey creating success in business and life.
Welcome to another episode of Tandem Talks. You've got yours truly here, Craig and Carrie. We're going to be having a good dialogue, a good dialectic, as you like to say.
Dialectic. Yes, the best word on the planet.
Your
and
favorite
a word
word
that more people should learn. Can I define that for people?
Please, it's like your word of 2020, 2021.
Yeah, it's both years.
It's your theme.
Yeah, so a debate is when two people try to get the best of each other and they try to win, and there's usually a winner and a loser, and you're kind of trying to prove your point, and you're usually so dialed in or entrenched in your point that you're often not really listening. You're just waiting to respond, which is the way a lot of conversations go, especially between husbands and wives or in the political arena. And a dialectic is where you actually seek to understand the other person, actually trade ideas and realize that they have a valued perspective and you want to learn their perspective. And if it helps change yours, you're more open to that. Mm-hmm. And so you're actually seeking truth together and challenging each other, but in a way that's more truth-based versus I'm going to just
defense mode.
Yeah, I'm just going to defend my position. And I think that if the world was having more, dialectic type conversations, it'd be a better place.
Yeah, well, true that. And that's not our topic specifically, but
could be.
It's a part of the theme. What I got really excited to just dive into on a deeper level is this whole idea of personal development, because it's been front and center in my journey as a business owner, starting my businesses at 22 years old. I had to grow a lot, and that was not just a side dish or a garnish. It was the main entree for a while. Mm-hmm. But what we've both seen, and I think we can agree on, is that a lot of people get very stuck in this abyss of personal development and don't necessarily then grow out and build something because they're kind of singing on the mountaintops, excited about all their inner growth, which again, we really, really value and don't want to minimize, but it's this balancing act. And I think some people get caught in that trap. So I want to kind of pick your brain. I know our journeys were different in a sense in our 20s, but what place in your life or in your business did that personal growth or interpersonal growth and development come from, and how did you balance it? Because I don't think it's easy.
Yeah, well, I think it's important. We have to be working on ourselves. We have to be developing and reading and consuming content. And maybe at the very beginning part of your entrepreneurial journey, that's super important, and you need that to even get going, right? But at some point we have to convert to taking action and going out into the world and doing things. And we talk about business ownership or entrepreneurship is the best form of self-development out there, because it's it challenges you and you have to go and create something. And experiential learning is ultimately more powerful than most of the time academic learning. And so everybody gets stuck in that academic learning because we're conditioned to learn that way, right? That's what school is. And that's why we like Montessori school so much, is because it's child-led versus, just memorize this data.
Curriculum-based.
And then you feel like you're making progress because you're learning facts. But the reality is in the world of Google, you don't need to memorize as much. It's there, it's at your fingertips. It's how do we synergize it and then apply it and go and create things. And so I've learned, I feel more specifically the last 2 years, just based on some of the things that we've done, how powerful action is. And just man, even when I was in banking and I was bringing on new clients, it's sitting and ruminating about, man, is this client going to call me back, or this potential, banking client going to return my phone call? It's I'll 10 more, and just take massive amounts of action. And the more I've been around business owners and entrepreneurs, they're just always taking action. They don't allow fear to paralyze them. They allow fear to temper them.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I just came up with that. Okay, so, but you have to, be able to assess your risk. And, I like with the podcast we did with Kevin Wickman, where he just talks about, you have to be curious, But then you also have to at some point be like, dude, give life a chance, like go do something, and it's really interesting watching people as we've helped others like try to parade through that, just like be so paralyzed and gripped by fear. So yeah, you got to figure out how to take action. I don't know if I answered that question super specifically, but
it was a good riff.
Okay, at least I laid a foundation. So, I mean, I think between the two of us, I tend to be a little more heady in most things, although once in a while there's an exception, which is frustrating for both of us because then the few times when I'm motivated to take action and then you're not, that's when we're really, really have to like get serious. But I think that you've always been really good at just like taking action and being decisive, right? I mean, it's kind of touches a lot of different parts of even like within the book. So talk to us or the audience or me even a little bit about like, how do you just know, okay, it's time to take action. It's time to stop talking and like go do it.
Yeah, I think athletics plays a fairly interesting role in that development for me because, I mean, I grew up playing sports my entire life year round, very competitively, and I never wanted to be the bench player. Like that sucks, right? Being on the bench.
I can confirm, hard confirm that sucks.
And so it's like, I can read a lot of books about how to play basketball, but until I'm willing to get my booty on the court and like make some blunders and fail and mess some things up and learn through that process, like I'm not really going to get playing time and win games and be on winning teams per se, right? And so I think I've just been very programmed towards action. My dad is a standout, college athlete, did very well. And I think a lot of that mindset very young was such an important confidence builder for me to know that like it's okay to fail, and especially sports. I mean, we were playing sports all weekend up at our lake house with our friends, and like I hit some pretty sweet pickleball shots, but you better believe like I whiffed a bunch too and like did a bunch of weird stuff as well. So it's like this package deal. And I just see so many people gripped by fear of failing or looking silly. And I think we just have to embrace that, like, you will look silly. So get out there and like also win while you're doing it versus just reading a book on the bench and being the most intellectually, like having all the stats on basketball, but not actually being out there and winning and playing, right?
Yep. Yeah. And so there's this feel good rhythm, right? Like there's a feel good thing that comes with watching a cool, Tony Robbins, Anthony Robbins video or Gary Vaynerchuk or, some of the big names. Like I like that stuff. Like I think it's great. And I feel empowered by it at times. However, if you're watching hours and hours of that, and then you're not making phone calls, you're really doing yourself a disservice at some point. You're not reaching out to people. You're not risking rejection. You're not actually putting the website together or whatever it is you need to do for your business or your side hustle. Like you are doing yourself a massive disservice. And I don't remember when we've talked about this. We've talked about it before, but it's really fascinating to me how the people that have the most followers don't spend a lot of time following because they're so busy. It's like people are like, well, who do you follow? And it's like, we're not saying that we're in that echelon of people I just mentioned in terms of financial success, because we're not. But I just don't have time to follow. Like, I don't even consume that much content like at all. It's like very little. I mean, I do, but it's like,
yeah. I think it's less about being busy. It's more about, I think successful people are extremely mindful.
Okay. Yeah.
And like you do consume content, but you're very particular.
Yeah. And I don't spend hours and hours a day. Right.
Right. But the content you do consume is like very much for you and which phase you are in your life and your growth and where you want to get. And so by nature, you've narrowed in so specifically on what you need that you don't need hours and hours.
Right.
You just kind of go straight to the source.
Right. Yeah. Most of the time. So yeah. And I mean, like this is what I do. I wonder if this is a recommendation. Be curious if you do this. Like I sort of have one or two people that I follow for a particular thing, right? So if it's like spiritual, I have like basically 1 to 2 people that I follow. If it's like business, like marketing, I'm like 1 to 2 people I follow that I think are just like really good in that lane and that I trust as human beings are like generally good people as best I can tell at higher levels. Now for us, we're fortunate to have mentors like that we actually know who are multi-deck millionaires and, like mentor us more directly, or in meditation, like I have that, right? But in terms of bigger personalities and stuff. So is that what you do? I mean, because you have a couple people that you really like to follow and
Yeah.
you track them, but then you're not like trying to track a bunch of people and you're probably not even consuming everything that that person puts out, right?
No, I wouldn't say I'm like diehard following any one person,
Right.
but I do have like go-to
Yeah.
people that I just really admire, and they
Yeah.
get me in the right headspace. They challenge me a little bit, and I feel like I learn new things or new angles on, different elements of industries that we're building our businesses in. So yeah, I've got go-to people. My net's probably a little bigger than yours, but I also like to be entertained and stuff.
Let's
So
actually, let's do this. Why don't we give our people, because I think that that could be helpful for folks. You're cool with that.
oh, yeah. I mean, I'll give you one person that I
Give us like
really
your top
love.
3 or 4 people that you love to follow. Maybe I could even name them.
You could even name him. Who do you think I like to follow?
You like Brene Brown,
Yeah, I love Brene.
right?
Absolutely.
You like Oprah, but I don't think you follow her
I
really.
mean, who doesn't love Oprah? But yeah, I don't really
I know some people that don't love Oprah.
follow Oprah, but yes, love her.
Yep. All right. The people that I follow, I don't know. I'm striking out now. Go ahead.
I really, really value Mel Robbins and just her totally authentic. She's awesome. Yeah, she's so good. Glennon Doyle, Abby Wambach. Those are my go-to faves.
Anyone else like outside of that in terms of like any narrow, like specific techniques or like areas like marketing or branding or anything that you follow specifically, or no?
I mean, I would say kind of a wide range of people. I feel like I get like small tips and things like that from a wide range of people in the branding and marketing realm. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
What about you?
So
other than Tom Bilyeu?
Yeah, I mean, I follow Impact Theory somewhat. I mean, I don't watch every episode, but I do think that that podcast is super legit. And I love the way Tom operates and the way he communicates has definitely had an impact on my life the last couple of years. Strong. Super good. And it's like relevant, and he does produce great content. And some of it gets a little redundant, just like when you're watching anyone. I think you just kind of tend to hear the same things. I'm sure if people watch us, there's some things that get redundant, but so I follow him. I don't follow Gary Vaynerchuk like aggressively or a lot, but I love Gary Vaynerchuk's cutting edge. Like, I think he's like always sort of on like a little ahead of the curve. In fact, there was some banter recently between him and Tom Bilyeu that Tom's like, "Yeah, you beat me to it again." Gary, just like always
concede.
Yeah. And some people are bothered by his like crassness or like his harshness, and he's tried to tone it down and say like, I'm about a people person or whatever, which is interesting. But I think he's just always cutting edge. I think he's just like in the front, like he's sort of ahead and kind of sees what other people are going to see in a few years from now, which is people like me. So, and
I love a good edgy person. Like,
yeah,
I think I like the grittiness and
yeah. Sometimes we need that, right? Because it pushes us to actually do action versus not, which I know sometimes I can come off that way, but probably not as intense as him. I really love following. I like Sadhguru a lot, actually, on the spiritual realm. And I'm not a mystic, but I like his insights and stuff. I think are really good as someone who's active and putting out great content. And I think he really breaks down the truth really well. And then, I don't agree with all of these people on everything. But one person that's super obscure that people won't have heard about, but is like freaking amazing is Daniel Schmachtenberger, who I'm sure you knew I was going to say, but probably I was
waiting for it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's Schmachtenberger. That's right. Probably one of the best thinkers. Like, I don't know that I've ever heard. Like, he's unreal. So if anybody wants to watch any of his stuff, it's like so good. Not that related to entrepreneurship, but he really talks about like thinking and how to think better and how to be able to take on other people's views and not just like default to your own biasness. Which, dude, I would love to do. We could do like a whole podcast on that. Like, if I started another podcast, I would just So anyways, yeah, I mean, those are people that I like to follow, but I don't follow a whole heck of a lot more than that, other than the mentors that we know and work with that actually know us. And that's a big difference between, like, it's kind of the point of why we started this, is like, consuming that content is good, but like, you listen to Gary Vaynerchuk and it's like, awesome, I'm jacked. Like but like, what strategy are you going to deploy? How are you going to interpret that to then grow your business? Or grow your life, or whatever it is you're working to accomplish. And that's where like an authentic mentor comes into play. And where a lot of people, I think somebody just posted a comment on our book, like, you don't need to read this book because you can just watch these people online. And like, totally true. Like, Gary Vaynerchuk's thought process is probably more concentrated on marketing than mine will ever be, or entrepreneurship in general. But like, is he going to talk to you? Is he going to take your phone call? And I say, it's like, if you're going to learn how to invest, you might not need Warren Buffett if you don't even know what a short sell is. Like, you just need someone who's good at investing and maybe makes $100,000 a year doing it, or $1 million or whatever they're at, because that's what you need for that phase.
Right.
Like, I don't need Sadhguru to mentor me in meditating, because like, I wouldn't even probably be able to handle like what he would drop on me if he really turned.
Not yet. So, who knows? Give yourself.
Yeah, give myself a couple more years, right? Or a couple more decades. But like, people are so like strange because they'll consume that content. But then when someone walks into their life who's worth a couple $1 million, or who has built a successful business and has like a good life, and they're like casual about that relationship, that is a mistake. That you're messing it up. Like, don't put Gary Vaynerchuk on such a huge pedestal, and then someone that you know right now that could be helping you, and you're just like, yeah, they've like done some cool stuff, but they're not cool like Gary Vaynerchuk. Like, no, that's the person who can actually impact you and get to know you, and custom recommendation and custom the content you should even be
consuming. I mean, simultaneously with some of those. And
they can call creators. you on your bullshit. Like, Gary Vaynerchuk is not going to jump out of the screen and like, you know, or whoever, right? So I think that's the part that people really miss, is they try to level up too many, because it's like,
well, it's more accessible in a sense. It's easier to access. You go to YouTube and you can find anybody in their content.
Yeah. And it's more glorified, and it's more like held up by society, where it's like, you know, what about the farmer who lives at the end of your block, you know, who probably is worth $20 million and is like, runs a really great business, and like, you won't give him the time of day because he's not cool on social media or something. Yeah. It's just like a big missed opportunity for people.
Yeah. And I would also add, sort of in that vein, is that I think it's really important to discern even the content creators I just listed. Like, there's times I'll read their books, or I'll listen to their podcasts, and I'm like, I don't actually really agree with that. And it doesn't mean I like lose respect for them, or that I can't pick and choose other elements that I totally buy into and align with. But I think we have to get good at thinking for ourselves and really sorting through what actually is relevant to us and what we believe in. And it sometimes feels like this package deal, like you buy into Mel Robbins or you don't. It's like, no, you're a free thinking human being. Like, take what you want. Even with this podcast, there's so many things we say that are like, yeah, that's simply not relevant to me, or I just disagree. And that's awesome. And so that's a muscle I don't know that enough people are building. And I just highly recommend having that discernment and using your own filter, like at a really good discretion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And allowing someone to push you a little bit, right? Because I think there's that balance of, people like the level of binary, like.
Another one of Craig's favorite words.
Yeah, I know that I learned from my wife, this one. 5-star reviews are like 1-star reviews. It's like, really? Like, and I get, like, your point is like, people don't go and leave reviews because they're like ho-hum about a product or a book or whatever, right? Or a movie. Like, they want to get on and like change like people's opinions, so they're extreme. So I get that, but like, really, how many things are truly like 5 stars, and how many things are truly like 1 star? Like, same thing when you're following people. It's like, take what's helpful and leave maybe what isn't. And at the same time, if you have a mentor that knows you, there might come a time where they're going to push you beyond where you're comfortable or what you want to do or what you think is right. And so learning how to develop the right amount of trust, as well as autonomy of your own thinking, so that you can onboard what they're sharing and apply it in a way that's going to be helpful for you.
Yeah. But like lean into action.
Yeah.
Through this all, like
yes.
go do a bunch of stuff.
Yes.
Create some mud and throw it at the wall. Like just very few things are built academically learning and textbook style. So, back to the main theme of the podcast, make sure that your life is in balance in that way so that you are trending more towards action. Craig was just talking about a family friend who's super successful, who you said he reads 6 books a month.
Yeah. 6 books a month.
Which is like beast mode. Like that's pretty impressive. But
and he has let's get him on the podcast. I got to do that. But he's got a lot of business.
Yeah. So like still clearly building that growth mindset, really investing in himself. But I don't think he shortcuts like action.
No.
Yeah.
No, that's like it. You have to be doing both constantly. So one thing that let's just talk about like another trap that people can fall into is getting books, or let's go very tactile, getting on YouTube or getting on LinkedIn or getting on Instagram, right? You talk about having surgical strikes, which is, I think, I don't know if you made that up or you pulled that from Chuck. Was that Chuck? I don't know. But just talk a little bit to people about that. Like, how do you regulate yourself so you don't get lost when you have intention of going in to watch your new favorite podcast, and then all of a sudden 6 hours have gone by, right? That you didn't plan on.
Yeah. This whole idea of surgical strikes, which we heard a speaker who we really admire share to this concept. And I'm a big believer. It's like, get in and get out, get what you need. Don't fool around and then we all have those times where like, I literally just want to be entertained right now.
Yeah, that's different.
Like, though. Awesome.
That's not, you're growing your business.
Exactly. Like, so do that when you want to, but do it intentionally. But when you're actively trying to build your business, like put time blocks in place, have guardrails so that 2 hours don't go by and you realize, oh man, I just went down this like deep rabbit hole of who knows. And you really didn't accomplish much of anything in regards to like practical steps in terms of knowledge acquisition or even networking or whatever it is that you're doing online. Like it's your biggest asset and it's your biggest liability depending on how you use it. So maybe it's a timer, maybe it's just very well-defined time blocks in your calendar. Maybe you have a to-do list on social media or online, wherever you're doing your things. But having almost your own curriculum and roadmap can be so, so powerful, because the brain, if it's not dialed in, it just gets distracted so quickly. The internet is really kind of feeds on that and how our brain works. So to take control, I just have a really set master list of things that I do when I get online, and it absolutely helps me. And I also have some time blocks. So it's like, I'm kind of done after this point. And trust me, there's times where I'm not actually done at that point, but it's a good backstop so that I don't get totally spun out on other things that are entertaining or distracting or catch my interest or my eye in a moment. Right.
Yep. Yeah, well, and I don't know that I just have to avoid it like altogether, because it's just not good. Having ADHD, it's like I struggle to just pay attention to anything once something else comes into view. But if I don't have any distractions, it's like I'll go down a rabbit hole really deep. So, I'm just mindful about it, I think, and I don't go on social media. I don't go on Facebook because I would never come out.
That'd be kind of sad.
Yeah. You would just never see me again, probably. So I think also, one point that I'll make too, just watch your energy level, because I feel like for me, we talk about managing time. There's like a lot of talk now about managing your energy, because I feel like for me, when I have good energy, I'm at the peak operating times of my day. Like I don't get distracted by trivial things. I might get distracted by other business things or like kids or something. Children. Yeah, something that's important. But I don't get distracted by like trivial stuff. But when I'm tired, when I'm fatigued, when it's like for me 11 or midnight, it's like I can click on a video and then click on another video, and it's like in times gone by that wasn't very intentional, but it's usually because I'm tired.
Mm-hmm.
So I think being mindful about when you're shutting your phone off, your social media, when you're reading, versus like what you're allowing your attention to do when you're fatigued.
Yeah, no, I think that's powerful. And, we talked about the role of a mentor versus general content. I think one of the best things that we can suggest is to get customized recommendations on what someone who's had success and, someone invested in your growth, what they suggest that you go through. Because a lot of people just think more is better. Well, more is a ton of time investment. And if you don't have a ton of time, which most of us don't, most of us should be really guarded with our time, then it does come down to customization. So maybe you're not, reading the 8-hour book. Maybe you're watching a 30-minute synopsis on YouTube, like small things like that, almost small hacks that give you the bulk of the content, but in way shorter amount of time. Or someone who's like, yeah, that this podcast or these series of podcasts, they're going to be helpful, but they're not exactly what you need. Here, listen to these 2 concise videos or podcasts. They're going to be way more streamlined for the direction you're actually going, and maybe the super technical niche that you're trying to crack the code on. So, I think it's easy to have people post a lot of book reviews or podcast reviews, and it's easy to be the collector of other people's suggestions. Like I've definitely been there and done that. But just being way more mindful and intentional about what then we're actually going and investing time to.
Yeah. Well, and there is something about a mentor kind of helping you screen through some of that and having a good conversation, and I think that, I was just on a call with someone who's mentoring in the meditation sector. We'll call him Dave since that's his name. And that was funny. Okay. We'll call him Dave because that's who he is. So I was telling him about something that was a little harder to process, like, someone who was throwing shade at us or whatever. And I was like, how do I process this in like a really very genuine way and still feel good for them and like do what's still right for us and blah, 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 blah. And I was feeling a little stressed out. And we talked through it, and he gave me some strategies and tips, which sometimes meditation is more like therapy than anything. But one of the things he said at the end was, he's like, well, I just found out that I have Parkinson's disease and I'm going to live a lot less longer than I thought. And I'm 72 and I don't have that much time left here. He's like, I think you can handle this. And it was like nobody else on the planet like is going to say that to me and knows me and like knows me well enough
to have it carry that weight
and have it carry that kind of weight, even if I watch that in a video. And so I'm so thankful that he said that, because it's like, oh, dude.
And then you said it to me, and I was like,
yeah,
man, that's impact right there.
It is impact. And not every conversation with that mentor is going to be like, wow, this changed my life. Like, get over that too, right? Like sometimes it's just like fairly benign or minor in terms of what you might be learning, but there's so much wisdom to attack there to have those types of relationships in your life. So. But you only get that. And then if you're taking action and like going out and finding a mentor, because I think most people don't even do that. They don't know how. Maybe that's another video that is definitely a part of the book that you can talk to.
What other books do you suggest people read? Like, what are your top faves?
Well, I think our all-time favorite book is 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yeah.
We read that together. We are so dorky.
It was really dorky. And
we read that together like our first year of dating.
I know. Maybe we were really cool.
No.
Okay, but it took us a year. And here's another tip. Like, life is not a speed reading contest. You don't win an award at the end of your life for how many books you read.
Gosh, no.
We like digested the hell out of that book. It took us so long. And I feel like as a function of that, I've actually been able to like work to live out a lot of the concepts and principles and actually reteach a lot of that, because I spent considerable amount of time and energy like really absorbing and applying. So yeah, I would say 100% 7 Habits. Buckle your seatbelt. It's dense.
Yeah. I mean, it was voted the best business book or best self-development book of last century. So like,
dang.
yeah, throw down against that.
Yeah. Growth Mindset by Carol Dweck, a huge recommendation. I mean, really most people, if you're looking to harness the power of like malleability and being adaptable and growing your EQ.
Yeah, I think Principles by Ray Dalio is really good, but I don't even really recommend reading the book because unless you're really into investing and you want to learn about the history, like the first third, there's some really cool principles embedded into his life story, but it's just like so dense. And I think he's got a booklet coming out. Maybe it came out.
I was going to say, I think he created an abridged version of that.
Yeah, because he kind of realized, I mean, I don't know if he realized it or his team did or whatever, but it's just like, it's a freaking monster, but it is amazing. And just like being able to go back to like, when you're in a tough spot, like how do I defer to my principles versus like, in a way that's just like technique-y or, something that you're going to regret later. Mm-hmm. So I think that that's really valuable. There's so many other books, but I just think those two stand out for me.
I like Atomic Habit. Compound Effect, things that actually make you reflect on what you're doing every day and like where you're investing your time and energy and efforts and just how big of a difference it makes when you do certain small things versus other small things. I think it's a real paradigm shift. Mm-hmm. So those are some other suggestions, but
yeah, I think people are good. I think they're not going to get lost in the abyss.
Don't get lost. And if you do, because I've gotten lost a few times, but come back.
Yeah. There's worse things. Like it's better than watching garbage. It's better than watching like stuff that's unhealthy or, bad horror flicks not that that's necessarily wrong, but like something that's putting and conditioning negative into your brain. Like, heck, man, at least get on that track somehow. But don't just get stuck there. The real self-development and the real learning is through creating and doing.
Yeah. And if you do get stuck there, like awesome for you. But if the goal is to grow a business or do XYZ, then you got to challenge yourself and be more disciplined. But there's worse places to be, and keep growing, keep doing, keep taking action.
Yeah. One comment I want to make when Carrie, we were doing our Olympics this weekend was so awesome. Carrie was just like so good. And we did disc golf with a couple different couples. We had fun. We did disc golf. We did pickleball, spike ball. We were going to do kayaking. That got beat out. And then basketball.
I was too sore by that point.
We played pig or horse or whatever. And it was just interesting watching you because like some of these are things you've never played, but it's like just your inner athletic skill and like hand-eye coordination that you have is annoying to people like me. But it's also just like that inner sense of like confidence that kicks in for you. That's really cool to watch, where it's like, I'm going to be okay no matter what. And I'm just it's like where I feel like I don't always have that in athletics. I'm like, this isn't going to go well. But for somewhere in your brain, you're just able to like turn this switch on. That's like, doesn't matter what happens. Like I'm going to do well, or I'm going to like do my best. And it's like the chips are going to fall where they are. And I think you carry that attitude into taking action and other things, which is fun to watch and see. And I hope people can channel that for themselves over time. I certainly know I have on some level. So
thanks, honey.
Yeah. Hope that brings you closer to what matters most. Thanks for being with us. It's been fun.
Enjoy the grind, everyone. Take care. Thanks for listening to today's episode.
Please subscribe and leave a review, and be sure to visit tandemconsulting.co/talks.